guys, so here's my review of Jeepers Creepers 2. If you'd like to check out my review to Jeepers Creepers 1, it's already on my channel. I'm reviewing the Jeepers Creepers films because Jeepers Creepers 3 is coming out tonight. And I just wanted to review these films because I've seen them as a kid and they really scared me, and I just wanted to give you my thoughts on them. Little nostalgia videos. So Jeepers Creepers 2 takes place within the time frame of Jeepers Creepers 1. It takes place actually on the last day where the Creeper is active. He has 23 days to kill and find bodies, and this is his last day, so he's kind of like running out of time here, and he's killing multiple people just to get by. Unlike the first movie, he's not really using his truck. He's not really into scaring people as much anymore. He's just really kind of trying to use his different traits, his wings, to get people faster. And you can tell through this movie that he is running out of time. He's just trying to meet a deadline, and he is just trying to find more people to kill. Which is probably why he decides to mess with high schoolers on a bus. High schoolers are more prone to be scared by a monster. And knowing that you have all these kids on a bus, it's like a dinner platter. So it makes sense as to why he goes after multiple different kids. And also in this movie, we have a dad dealing with the loss of his son because of the Creeper. So in terms of the premise, I think the movie is actually pretty interesting for the most part. It's got a good setup. However, what I think really just messes up this movie for me is the characters. I don't really like the characters in this movie. I like the characters more from the first movie. In this movie, I don't have really anyone to follow. There's not someone that I can just point out and say, okay, I'm following that person. Because a lot of the characters in this movie are bland. And the one character that the camera seems to be focused on is a racist asshole. He's mad because the African-American students on his basketball team played more than him that day, which, I mean, dude, what did you expect? It's basketball. But he goes at it such a wrong way, and the way that he handles the situation, it's just, he's such an unlikable dickhead. And it's just so weird how the movie focuses on him when you have all these different kids on the bus. Like, you could have focused on so many different characters, and you chose to focus on this asshole of a kid. I just didn't really agree with that portion of the story. I felt as though you could have really focused on the dad in this movie. However, he's barely in it. I would say, is in like maybe 45% of the movie. You get his motivation. He had his son taken and I'm pretty sure killed by the Creeper. So why not focus more on him? That makes so much sense, and the motivation is there. I just felt like this movie was more conventional than the first one, where they tried to make it a high school slasher film, where we have all these stereotypical teens, and they get killed off by the Creeper. Whereas the first film, it was a brother and sister trying to survive. They were just trying to get home. You had two different characters, and they were also trying to figure out what was going on. It was somewhat of a mystery. But with this, it's just these kids trapped on a bus, and it's a slasher film, basically. I will admit to an extent that this movie is watchable. You can watch this movie right after the first one because it takes place in the same time frame as the first one. And it's got more action scenes. It's got more Creeper in it, which I really appreciate, because it didn't do the route where the kids are trying to figure out what this thing is, because we already know what it is. We already know what the Creeper is. So it just went straight forward. It showed the Creeper within the first 30 minutes of the film. The kids know what it is. They're just like, oh my god, what is that thing? It has wings. It shows the wings within the first 30 minutes, which I really appreciated, because we already know what it is. You showed it, and that is a positive about this movie. There's actually a lot more action sequences. I felt as though there's just a lot more visuals of the Creeper flying around. That's what this movie has that the first one doesn't, is that there's just more sequences with this creature flying and using its wings. Like I said, it has a deadline. It has to use all of its traits in order to get these kids. There's also a scene in the film where these kids mess with this kid who could potentially be gay. And that's just another thing. It's just like, I don't like these kids whatsoever. There's no one to follow. A majority of the kids are dickheads. They are just really prejudiced. One kid is racist. One kid doesn't like this potential gay kid. Overall, guys, I like this movie. I like how it takes place days after the events of the first one. I like how there's more action sequences. I like how there's more Creeper in this film. And I get the motivation of the dad himself. However, I really just don't like the characters. I like the dad, but he's barely in the film. I just don't like any of the high school students. I feel as though they could have added character to them. They added great characters to the characters in the first one. They could have easily added better characters in this high school class. It's a high school class. I mean, what, like, high school classes have, like, what, 20 kids or something like that? Yeah, out of those 20 kids, I should have been able to like somebody, but I didn't. You focused on a racist asshole. You focused on these kids who was bullying this guy because they thought he was gay. And it's just like, come on, guys. Like, this could have been easily better. It's watchable, don't get me wrong. I could watch this movie right after the first one, but I just don't like the characters. There's also something I forgot to mention in this review that I felt was kind of important, that I didn't necessarily like. One of the girls becomes a clairvoyant. She starts receiving visions of the Creeper on the bus. That is never really explained, and I felt it necessary to put this in the review because it is kind of weird. It doesn't really make sense, so I just would have regretted it if I left that part out. So yeah, there's a clairvoyant in this movie, and it's just unexplained. So yes, guys, that was my review to Jeepers Creepers 2. Comment down below if you've seen this movie and what you thought of it. Like the video, share it, and please subscribe to Pixel Talk if you haven't yet for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, gaming content, and pop culture stuff. And stay tuned, I am seeing Jeepers Creepers 3 tonight. I am so excited. I've waited a long time for this movie, and we only get to see it once, and I think I know why. I'm going to be talking about that in the next video, why I think that's occurring and my opinion on the situation of the director. I think you know what I'm talking about. So subscribe for that video. I really appreciate it, guys. And I'm Corbin Stuckey, and this is Pixel Talk.